The thing that you are most afraid to do is the thing that will set you free and allow you to become a cycle breaker. When you can no longer run from your pain because it catches up with you everywhere you go, you have the opportunity to stop trying to manage it, stop trying to fix it, override it, deny it, or cope with it, and instead fully surrender to your healing. And this means that you face your pain in all its intensity so that you can transmute it into power. Hello, my name is Tenara, and in this video, we are talking about healing ancestral trauma and the key to becoming a cycle breaker. So if you have been dealing with ancestral trauma, it is highly likely that you have been avoiding your pain your entire life. And by avoiding, I mean you've been trying to manage it, you've been trying to fix it, you've been hanging in there in that struggle. Maybe you've been denying it or coping with it, but somehow it keeps showing back up because you're actually only skating on the surface of it. You are not just dealing with any old patterns. You're dealing with karmic patterns, ancestral patterns, and these patterns have been in your lineage for thousands of years. These patterns are embedded in us at the cellular level. They are falsely coded into our DNA. So in order to get to the root of ancestral trauma, we have to go through this massive surrender. This massive ego death. And not ego in the sense that you think you're all that. I'm not talking about arrogance or, inflated sense of self-esteem. I am talking about the parts of yourself that have these survival mechanisms, these coping mechanisms, the parts of yourself that are so locked in on protecting you from your pain that they will fight to the death. This is what you need to face. You need to turn inward and allow all these parts of yourself to speak up. You need to allow your stories to be told, the memories to come up, the energetic impulses of the repeated traumas to complete. Because trauma is like a shock to the body, a shock to the being, and repeated trauma is multiple shocks. And so we can't just positive think our way out of it. We can't just manifest our way out of it. We have to go deep and get it at the root. And this means that we surrender to feeling our pain in all its intensity so that we can finally transmute it. Now, I know this sounds like a scary process, but I can guarantee you it is a process of relief. When we finally surrender, because we can't outrun our pain anymore. And these terrible situations just show up everywhere we turn, right? The toxic relationships, the self-sabotage, the addictions, the chronic depression and anxiety, the physical ailments, all of it. It keeps showing back up, and it actually keeps growing and growing because life only gets harder with ancestral trauma. When we cannot take it anymore, that's when we finally muster the courage to do that full body surrender, to allow the ego death, to allow the false self to sit in the back seat for a little while we do this investigation work, we do this conscious inner work, this conscious shadow work, and finally face not something that is foreign to us. We face what has been there, what has been with us our entire lives. It is not dangerous to face your own pain because you walk with it every single day of your life. But I can guarantee you that the reason most people don't heal from ancestral trauma is because they are deathly afraid of facing their pain. They think that if they turn and face their demons or actually pay attention to these stories or these traumas that happened a long time ago, they are going to cause even more suffering, or they're just going to exit this earth. They're going to be swallowed up into the abyss of darkness, right? Eternal darkness. But the polar opposite is true. When you finally do this massive surrender because you cannot run anymore and you are like, what is it going to take to finally heal? That's when the tides turn. That's when you have an internal energetic shift that really changes your frequency, and it allows you to start holding space for yourself, to start holding space for all of these trapped energies to bubble up, resolve, and release. Think of it like cleaning mold out of a refrigerator. Let's say you look in the fridge and there's a bunch of mold in there, but you don't really want to pull all the drawers out and take it all apart and do the deep clean because that seems like a really big job. So instead, you just wipe down the surfaces and forget about it. And then you go back a few months later and oh no, the mold has grown and now it's even worse. Now it's really embedded in the cracks and the crevices and it's threatening to break your entire refrigerator unless you completely dismantle it and bleach it down from top to bottom. It is the same thing with generational trauma. We can't just pay attention to it a little bit. We can't just be like, oh yeah, I know that story, but I don't want to go there again. I don't want to open up that old can of worms. It doesn't work. We have to go deeper and clean all the mold out of the corners and get to the root of it. Now, I know you feel like you've been facing your pain your entire life, and the last thing that you want to do is face it some more. But when you actually go deep and do this conscious work, it's not continuing to suffer. It is the opposite. It is the alchemy. It is the transmutation of what you have been carrying all along. This is how you really become a cycle breaker. You let go. You stop hanging on by a thread, hoping that all hell won't break loose, and instead you let it happen. Because let me tell you what, living with ancestral trauma is living in hell. And you want it to break loose so that you can move through it once and for all. So it does feel like you're falling off the edge of a cliff backwards, but it is absolutely not that. It's like the boogeyman, right? You know, you're so scared of it until you finally just go in the closet, turn the light on, and realize it was all just an illusion. And it is a process to go through. I am not saying that it's easy. It is likely going to be the most difficult thing you will ever do in this lifetime. You are clearing generational trauma. Did you think it was going to happen over a weekend or that it was going to be like no big deal? No, it's massive. Becoming a cycle breaker is a huge role to step into, but you can absolutely do it because you've already been walking with this stuff. You've been carrying it, and that means you're strong, you're capable, and you're probably also really fucking tired of carrying this weight. So it's time to drop it, guys. It's time to heal. And we heal by facing ourselves. We heal by doing this full body surrender. I remember in my own healing process when I finally was like, I can't fight anymore. I can't manage it anymore. I can't struggle anymore. And I just decided to let it fly. I was like, whatever demons are inside of me, let's go. I want to meet you, right? Because I'm not scared anymore because the suffering had become so great that the fear of changing or the fear of going into my pain and facing myself on that deeper level became less than the fear of continuing to suffer and repeat the same cycles year after year. And when I finally did that, that was the shift inside that made the difference. That's when things started to come up. That's when I finally had the balls to hold space for myself, loving space enough for these energetic impulses to complete, for these memories to surface, for everything to come up, be acknowledged, and be resolved. And this doesn't take 20 years. I know you don't want to sit with this stuff for 20 years. You don't have to. It is going to take some time, but it doesn't take forever. And again, the process of going through it is a process of relief. So there's really nothing to resist. Once you understand that this is a healing process, this is not a process of falling into the deep end of never-ending suffering, you can convince yourself to let go. And when you've had enough, you can say, I'm ready, right? I'm done with carrying this. I am done with struggling. I am done with suffering. I'm done with the narcissistic abuse. I'm done with these toxic situations. I'm done with being in scarcity. I'm done with all of it. That's when you become the cycle breaker, because you decide to face your pain and resolve it. And this is the difference that makes the difference. It's not talking about it at the level of your conscious mind. That is only 10% of what is going on. 90% of your behavior, 90% of your beliefs are at the level of the subconscious mind. And that's why facing our pain is so pivotal, because it allows those content of the subconscious mind to rise up. It's not hard work. It's releasing work. It's getting out of the way work. It's just allowing, right? And it does end. You don't have to suffer with this forever. You don't have to sit with it for 20 years. The fears do fade away. The patterns do fade away. You will become healthier. You will cultivate true, sustainable self-worth. You will set healthy boundaries in your life. You will be able to consciously create a life that actually serves you. You will be able to break the chains of the poverty consciousness, because you were willing to go that deeply into your own being and meet these parts of yourself that have always been there, waiting for your recognition, waiting for your love, and you dissolve these patterns in the light of your own consciousness. I hope that this video landed with you and that you got some insight out of it. I would love to hear what you think, so definitely let me know if it resonated. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.